The crystal chandelier above the grand dining hall shattered like 1,000 unspoken secrets, shards raining down in a glittering storm that caught the light from the roaring fireplace. "Faggot Spawn thinks he can waltz in here like he belongs," Alexander Harrington spat, his voice slicing through the murmurs of the black-tie crowd like a razor through silk, his manicured finger jabbing toward the figure frozen at the edge of the room. Ethan Rivers, son of the family's longtime cook, felt the words land like a gut punch, his heart slamming against his ribs as every eye in the Harrington estate turned to him, the air thick with the scent of aged scotch and betrayal. But then, in the suffocating silence that followed, Ethan straightened his thrift store bow tie, stepped forward into the spotlight of judgment, and began to sing, a raw, aching rendition of Hallelujah that cracked open the room like thunder, his voice weaving through the debris on the floor, turning mockery into something achingly human, leaving the Harringtons' elite guests clutching their pearls and their prejudices in stunned, breathless awe. The Harrington estate sprawled across the rolling hills of the Hudson Valley like a crown jewel in America's old money playbook. All ivy-clad stone walls and manicured lawns that whispered of fortunes built on steel mills and Wall Street whispers. It was the kind of place where summers meant croquet on emerald grass and winters brought fox hunts that no one actually hunted, just posed for the society pages. Alexander Harrington, the golden boy of it all, had grown up believing the world bent to his whims, private jets to Aspen, Harvard on a silver platter, and a Rolodex of connections that could make or break a senator's career. At 25, he was the heir apparent, sharp-jawed and sharper-tongued, with eyes like polished emeralds that could charm a boardroom or cut down a rival in equal measure. Ethan Rivers, on the other hand, had scraped his way into this gilded cage by the skin of his teeth. His father, Marcus, had been the Harringtons' cook for 2 decades, a quiet black man from the Bronx who'd traded culinary school dreams for steady paychecks and a roof over his family's head. Marcus wielded a whisk like a scepter in the estate's cavernous kitchen, turning simple ingredients into feasts that masked the bitterness of service. Ethan, at 23, was his shadow, part sous chef, part errand boy, all ambition wrapped in a lean frame honed from late-night shifts at a Brooklyn diner to fund his vocal performance classes at NYU. He was out and proud in a way that made the Harrington staff whisper. Rainbow pins on his apron, a faint scar on his cheek from a high school hate crime that he wore like a badge. But in the big house, he kept his head down, his heart locked away, dreaming of stages brighter than the Harringtons' crystal. That fateful night in late autumn, the estate buzzed with the Harringtons' annual Harvest Gala, a fundraiser masquerading as a party where New York's elite gathered to pat themselves on the back for philanthropy while dodging real change. The dining hall was a sea of tuxedos and sequins, laughter bubbling like the vintage Dom Perignon. Alexander, fresh off sealing a merger that padded the family coffers by 9 figures, held court at the head table, his arm slung possessively around a leggy blonde named Victoria, whose daddy owned half of Silicon Alley. He was 3 scotches in, the kind of buzz that turned his Ivy League wit into something meaner, sharper. Ethan moved through the edges like a ghost in a white jacket, replenishing canapes and dodging elbows. He'd snuck in a demo CD for the band's open mic slot, Marcus's doing, a rare flex of paternal pride, but doubt gnawed at him. Why would these people, who saw him as the helps kid, give a damn about his voice? It started small, a snicker from Alexander's table as Ethan passed with a tray of foie gras. "Hey, waiter, make it snappy. Some of us have actual lives to get back to." The table chuckled, Victoria's laugh a tinkling bell. Ethan bit his tongue, forced a smile, the service smile, the one that said, "I see you, but I won't break." Then it escalated. Alexander, spotting Ethan's rainbow lapel pin glinting under the chandeliers, leaned back with a predatory grin. "Oh, look, folks, it's Pride Month in November. What's next? Confetti and a drag show?" The room tittered, forks pausing mid-air. Victoria cooed, "Alex, you're terrible," but her eyes sparkled with delight. Ethan's cheeks burned, but he held the tray steady, his voice low. "Just doing my job, Mr. Harrington." Alexander's laugh was a bark. "Job, kid? Your dad's the one slaving over a hot stove to keep us fed. You're just accessorizing." He waved a hand at Ethan's pin. "Faggot spawn thinks he can waltz in here like he belongs." The word landed like the chandelier crash that followed, though that came later, in Ethan's fevered retelling. In reality, it was the hush that shattered the moment, a collective intake of breath as heads swiveled. Mrs. Harrington, Alexander's ice queen mother, Evelyn, frowned into her wineglass, her pearls a noose around her neck. Marcus, hovering in the kitchen doorway, froze, his apron stained with reduction sauce. Ethan felt the world tilt. 23 years of swallowing slurs, from playground taunts in the Bronx to frat boy jeers at NYU, surged up like bile. But this, in his father's house of employment, on the cusp of his one shot, no. He set the tray down with deliberate calm, the clink echoing like a gavel. The room watched, a tableau of privilege frozen in voyeuristic glee. He walked to the small stage where the string quartet had paused for intermission, grabbed the microphone like it was a lifeline. His hands shook, but his voice did not. The first notes of Hallelujah spilled out, Leonard Cohen's lament reimagined in Ethan's timbre. Gravelly baritone laced with gospel fire, each line a confession, a defiance. "I've heard there was a secret chord." The lyrics hung in the air, weaving through the tension like smoke from the fireplace. Alexander's smirk faltered first. A flicker, gone in an instant, replaced by something unreadable. Victoria's hand slipped from his arm. Evelyn's glass trembled. And Ethan sang on, pouring out the ache of hidden loves. Stolen glances in the pantry, the weight of a father's quiet pride and a world's casual cruelty. By the bridge, and even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of Song. Tears tracked down his face, but his voice soared, unbroken. The chandelier didn't actually shatter. That was hyperbole born of the moment's intensity. But when Ethan finished, the silence was deafening, a vacuum where applause should have roared. Then, slowly, one clap, from Marcus, eyes shining, ignited the room. The elite, caught off guard by this raw intrusion of soul, rose in waves, their stunned silence blooming into thunderous ovation. Alexander sat rooted, his face a mask of thunderclouds, emeralds darkened to jade. Ethan stepped off the stage, legs jelly, straight into Marcus's embrace. "Proud of you, son," his father murmured, voice thick. But as Ethan glanced back, Alexander's gaze locked on his, not mockery now, but a spark, dangerous and alive. The hook was set. In the days that followed, the gala's aftermath rippled through the estate like aftershocks. The New York Times Society column ran a blurry photo, Harrington Ayers bash interrupted by Butler's ballad Soul Over Silver Spoons. Blogs buzzed, the gay son who sang back at the 1%. Ethan woke to voicemails from agents, his inbox flooded with gig offers. Marcus beamed over breakfast, flipping pancakes with extra flourish. "Told you, boy." Your voice is your ticket out. But Ethan couldn't shake the weight of those emerald eyes. Alexander hadn't apologized. Harringtons didn't do contrite. But he'd lingered after the crowd dispersed, cornering Ethan in the butler's pantry amid stacks of linens. That was something, he'd said, voice low, scotch still on his breath. Didn't peg you for a showman. Ethan had wiped down a shelf, chin high. Surprise. People like me have layers too. Alexander's laugh had been softer then, almost genuine. Touché, Rivers. Touché. It was the first crack in the armor, the moment when mockery teetered toward curiosity. Ethan told himself it meant nothing. Alexander was straight as a ruler, engaged to Victoria by Christmas, per Evelyn's decree. But late nights in the kitchen, as Ethan prepped dough for Dawn's croissants, he'd catch Alexander wandering in, pretending to raid the fridge. Insomnia, he'd mutter, popping a grape, eyes tracing Ethan's flour-dusted arms. Family bullshit, Ethan would nod, offering a beer from the walk-in. Sounds heavy. One night, it spilled. Alexander's confession over lukewarm IPAs, the weight of expectation crushing him, the merger's fine print tying him to a life he loathed, Victoria a placeholder for the empire's expansion. I'm the prince in the tower, but the dragon's my own blood. Ethan's response, a quiet, princes bleed too, hung between them, charged. By Thanksgiving, the estate's holiday prep masked a growing undercurrent. Ethan found excuses to linger, tuning the piano in the library, where Alexander would accidentally interrupt, their talks stretching into hours. Books on countertops, Ethan's dog-eared copy of Giovanni's Room beside Alexander's crisp The Great Gatsby. Shared silences by the fire, where Alexander's knee brushed Ethan's, neither pulling away. The first kiss happened on a snow-dusted December evening, after the staff holiday party. Marcus had outdone himself. Roast goose, eggnog spiked just right. Ethan, tipsy on joy and rum, stepped out for air on the veranda, breath fogging the night. Alexander followed, uninvited, his coat unbuttoned against the chill. Your trouble, Rivers, Alexander murmured, close enough for Ethan to smell his cologne, sandalwood and sin. Ethan's heart hammered. Says the guy who started the war. Alexander's hand cupped his jaw, thumb tracing the scar. Truce, and then their mouths met, tentative, then fierce, snowflakes melting on heated skin. It tasted of rebellion, of finally, Alexander's fingers tangling in Ethan's curls as if anchoring himself to something real. They tumbled into secrecy after that. Stolen moments in the wine cellar, Alexander's Bentley idling in the orchard for hurried makeouts, Ethan's dorm room on weekends when Alexander claimed business in the city. It was electric, this forbidden current. Alexander's polished world cracking open to reveal a man starved for touch, for truth. I've never, he'd admit in the dark, tracing Ethan's tattoos, a phoenix on his ribs, inked after coming out. Not like this. Not with a guy. Ethan would laugh softly, pulling him closer. First time for everything, golden boy, but romance in the shadows bred its own storms. Evelyn noticed Alexander's distractions, her hawk eyes missing nothing. That Rivers boy, keep your distance, darling. We're not them. Victoria, sensing the shift, clung tighter, her barbs laced with ice. Alex, really, slumming it with the staff. Ethan bore it with grit, his gigs picking up, a lounge set in Chelsea, a wedding in the Hamptons. His voice, that gala weapon, was his shield. Yet doubt crept in. Was this love? Or Alexander's midlife crisis at 25? Marcus warned him over coffee, lines etched deeper on his face. Harrington's take. Son. They don't give. Christmas Eve brought the first fracture. The family tree-trimming gala, twinkling lights, carolers in the snow. Alexander pulled Ethan into the coat room, hands roaming. "Run away with me," he whispered, half joking, lips on Ethan's neck. "Screw the merger. We could go to Paris. Or, fuck, anywhere." Ethan melted, then stiffened. "You don't mean that." "Not yet." Alexander's eyes flashed. "Why not? Because I'm rich and you're?" The word hung, unsaid but sharp. Ethan pushed back. "Because I'm real, Alex. And you're still playing pretend." They parted with a slammed door, Ethan storming to the kitchen where Marcus kneaded dough like it owed him money. "Love's a gamble, boy." But Harringtons? They rigged the game. As midnight mass chimes echoed from the village, Ethan wondered if he'd already lost. New Year's Eve dawned crisp and unforgiving, the Hudson Valley blanketed in a frost that mirrored the chill settling between Ethan and Alexander. The estate thrummed with prep for the Harringtons' black and white ball, a spectacle of fireworks and caviar, where deals were sealed under the guise of celebration. Ethan threw himself into work, chopping mirepoix with mechanical precision, his mind replaying that coatroom fight on loop. Run away, as if Alexander's world of private islands and power lunches could fold neatly into a duffel bag. Alexander, meanwhile, drowned in distraction. Board meetings blurred into hangovers. Victoria's chatter grated like nails on slate. He texted Ethan a dozen times, "Sorry. Let's talk." But pride kept Ethan silent, his phone buzzing ignored amid the clatter of pots. By dusk, the ball was in full swing, guests in monochromatic finery gliding across parquet floors, a jazz quartet swinging standards that masked the undercurrent of tension. Ethan manned the perimeter, tray in hand, his black vest starched to perfection. He caught Alexander's eye across the room, emerald fire, pleading. A nod, barely perceptible, and Ethan slipped away to the solarium, a glass conservatory blooming with forced orchids despite the winter bite. Alexander arrived minutes later, tie loosened, cheeks flushed from champagne or frustration. "You ghosted me." Ethan set his tray on a wrought iron table, arms crossed. "You proposed eloping like it's a rom-com. I'm not your plot twist, Alex." Alexander paced, boots echoing on tile. "It's not God, Ethan. You make me want more. This life is a cage. With you, I breathe." The vulnerability cracked Ethan's resolve. He stepped closer, fingers brushing Alexander's cufflink, a Harrington crest, gold and heavy. "Then fight for it. Tell your mother." "Hell, tell Victoria." Alexander's laugh was bitter. "You think it's that easy? One word, and the empire crumbles. My father built this. Your father died chasing it." Ethan cut in, voice steady. "Chasing deals, not you. Don't let it bury you too." They kissed then, desperate and devouring, orchids wilting witnesses to the storm. Alexander's hands mapped Ethan's back like uncharted territory, pulling him onto a wicker chaise where fireworks bloomed outside, painting their skin in silver and shadow. It was messy, urgent buttons undone, breaths mingling with moans that echoed off glass. For those stolen hours, the ball faded. It was just them, two souls colliding in the quiet fury of want. But dawn brought reality's bite. Victoria found Alexander's tie in the solarium at 3 a.m., her shriek slicing the night. "Who the fuck is he?" she demanded the next morning over brunch, waving the evidence like a flag of war. Evelyn's face paled, then hardened to steel. "Alexander, explain," he did, haltingly, omitting Ethan's name at first, then blurting it in a rush. "It's Ethan. The singer. It's real. Mother." The room erupted. Victoria's sobs. Evelyn's Arctic decree. "End it. Now. Or lose everything." And Alexander's father, long in the grave but invoked like a ghost. Family first. By noon, Alexander was on a jet to D.C. Business, his excuse, leaving Ethan a voicemail. "Give me time. I love you." Ethan deleted it, throat tight. Love? The word felt like quicksand. January dragged in gray monotony. Ethan auditioned for Off-Broadway, rent callbacks, a jingle for a soda ad, but rejections piled like snowdrifts. Marcus noticed the hollows under his eyes. "Heartbreak's a teacher, son. But don't let it silence you." Alexander returned a week later, gaunt and determined, cornering Ethan in the stables where horses nickered softly. "I told her. Victoria's out. Mother. She's thawing." Slowly, he pressed a velvet box into Ethan's palm, a key to a pied terra in the village. "Ours. No more hiding." Ethan's walls crumbled. They christened the apartment that night. Exposed brick walls, a Murphy bed creaking under their weight, city lights winking approval through rain-streaked windows. Alexander was insatiable, worshipful, kisses trailing from Ethan's collarbone to the dip of his hip, whispers of mine against sweat-slick skin. "Marry me," Alexander murmured post-climax, fingers laced with Ethan's. "Fuck the merger. We'll build our own world." It was bliss, fragile as spun sugar. Mornings tangled in sheets, Alexander's head on Ethan's chest, listening to his heartbeat like a compass. Afternoons, Ethan at vocal coaching, Alexander working from home, but really sketching escape plans, nonprofits, art foundations, anything to dodge the Harrington yoke. Evenings, dive bars in the East Village, Alexander in a beanie incognito, cheering Ethan's open mics with beers and stolen touches under tables. But shadows lengthened. Evelyn summoned Alexander to the estate for family council, emerging him hours later with hollow eyes. "She knows about the apartment," he confessed over takeout tie. "Threatened to cut me off. But I stood my ground." Ethan pulled him close, masking fear with kisses. "We're stronger than her money." February's Valentine's brought a high. Ethan's booking for a cabaret at Feinstein's, Alexander front row, bouquet of calla lilies in hand. The set was electric, covers of Billie Holiday, original ballads laced with their story's ache. Alexander's pride shone brighter than the footlights. Backstage, he dropped to one knee with a ring, platinum band, simple emerald inset. "Say yes, Ethan Rivers. Be my forever." Tears blurred the yes, sealed with a kiss that tasted of champagne and hope. Yet betrayal brewed in the wings. Unbeknownst to them, Victoria, spurned and scheming, had hired a PI, snapshots of their village night's fuel for Evelyn's fire. Mid-March, as crocuses pierced the earth, the hammer fell. Alexander's phone rang during a rehearsal dinner for Ethan's big show. Evelyn's voice, venomous. "Check your email, darling. Or watch your lover's father lose everything." The email was a nightmare. Doctored photos implying Marcus embezzled from the estate. Funds siphoned to Ethan's lavish tuition. Lies. All of it, but the Harrington lawyers were sharks, ready to sue into oblivion. Resign tonight, Evelyn demanded in a follow-up call, or the Rivers family starves. Alexander raced to the estate, confronting her in the library amid leather-bound ledgers. This is blackmail. Ethan's innocent. So are you. In your delusion, Evelyn snapped, her Botox mask cracking. He's a distraction, Alexander. A phase. Marry Victoria, secure the merger, or I'll bury them both. He stormed out, driving through sleet to the village, collapsing into Ethan's arms with the tail. I can't let them hurt you. Marcus. Your future. Ethan held him, fury and fear warring. Fight dirty if you have to. But don't bend. That night, they made love like it was war, fierce, reclaiming, Alexander's cries muffled in Ethan's shoulder. But dawn brought resolve. Alexander would expose the forgery, hire his own counsel. We're Harringtons now, he vowed. Both of us. April bloomed treacherous. The cabaret run sold out. Ethan's reviews glowing. A voice that shatters ceilings. Alexander rallied allies, cousins. Old flames turned friends, building a war chest. Stolen weekends in the Catskills. Hiking trails hand in hand. Campfire confessions under stars. I was lost until you, Alexander admitted, roasting marshmallows. You make me brave, Ethan smiled, but anxiety gnawed. Marcus confided over a rare day off. Proud, but scared. Son. Money's a monster. The climax crested on a humid May evening. The estate's spring soiree, a merger announcement masked as garden party. Ethan wasn't invited, but Alexander insisted. Stand with me. Show them. Dressed in a slim-fit suit Alexander had tailored. You look like a king, his lover murmured. Ethan arrived on Marcus's arm, chin high. The gardens overflowed. Fairy lights, string quartet, guests toasting futures. Evelyn air-kissed cheeks, her smile ablade. Victoria lurked, eyes venom. As speeches loomed, Alexander pulled Ethan on stage, microphone in hand. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, voice steady, tonight isn't just about business. It's about truth. He turned, dropping to a knee not with a ring, but a folder of evidence. PI reports debunking the forgeries, affidavits from staff vouching Marcus's loyalty. My family tried to buy silence. But love, it demands a voice. Gasps rippled. Evelyn paled. Alexander, he ignored her, eyes on Ethan. I choose you. No more cages. The crowd murmured, a mix of shock and applause. Ethan, heart pounding, pulled him up, their kiss, public, unapologetic, sealing the declaration. Fireworks burst overhead, but the real explosion was Evelyn's. You're disinherited. Get out. They walked offstage hand in hand, Marcus beaming through tears. But as confetti fell, Victoria's whisper slithered. Enjoy it while it lasts, boys. Mother Dearest plays long games. In the afterglow, they didn't see the storm gathering. A leaked story to page 6. Harrington heirs scandalous coming out crashes merger. Stocks dipped. Allies scattered. Alexander's calls went unanswered. His accounts frozen overnight. By June's solstice, the betrayal cut deepest. Evelyn's coup, installing a cousin as interim CEO, painting Alexander as unstable, under undue influence. The village apartment's lease vanished, paid by family funds, reclaimed. Homeless, heartbroken, they crashed at Marcus's tiny Bronx walk-up. the air thick with takeout and tension. "I lost it all," Alexander whispered one night, staring at peeling wallpaper. "For us," Ethan cupped his face. "You found us. That's enough." But was it? Gigs dried up amid the scandal. Marcus quit the estate, taking a diner job. Whispers followed, gold digger. Phase over. Alexander spiraled, jobless, adrift, his emerald eyes dulled to ash. July's heat wave broke with thunder, mirroring the rift. A screaming match in the cramped living room. Alexander accusing Ethan of naivety. "You sang your way out. I burned mine down." Ethan retorting, "I never asked you to play martyr." Doors slammed. Silences stretched. Marcus mediated. "Weary? Love's work, boys. Or it withers." Reconciliation came slow. A rainy walk in Central Park. Hands brushing. Apologies in the downpour. "I miss us," Alexander said, soaked to the bone. "So do I," Ethan replied, pulling him close. They rebuilt, brick by brick. Alexander temping at a startup, Ethan busking subways for rent. August brought a lifeline, an indie label scout from the cabaret, offering Ethan a demo deal. Alexander designed the cover art. Free. Fall leaves turned as their love deepened, tempered by fire. No grand gestures now, just quiet strength. Alexander cooking Marcus's recipes, Ethan teaching him guitar by lamplight. "We're survivors," Ethan said one crisp evening, skyline aglow from a rooftop bar they could finally afford. Alexander smiled, real and rare. "Yeah. And we're just getting started." October's chill seeped into the bones of New York like an old grudge, the city shedding its summer skin for wool coats and hurried steps. Ethan and Alexander's life had settled into a rhythm. Hard one, humble, but theirs. The Bronx walk-up, once a way station, became home. Posters of Broadway ghosts on walls, a second-hand couch sagging under shared weights, the air forever scented with Marcus's gumbo simmering on Sundays. Ethan's demo deal blossomed into a single release, Echoes, a haunting track about fractured chords and mended hearts that charted modestly on Spotify playlists, enough for a shared studio in Bushwick. Alexander, shedding his suit for hoodies, freelanced graphic design, his once pristine LinkedIn gathering digital dust. But scars festered. Evelyn's disinheritance lingered like a specter. Holiday cards arrived and signed, a silent "you're dead to us." Victoria, thriving in her revenge, married a tech bro in a splashy Hamptons affair, her wedding announcement in Vogue a middle finger with lace trim. Whispers trailed Alexander at coffee runs. "Isn't that the Harrington fuck-up?" And Ethan's gigs drew hecklers, slurs scrawled on venue walls. Yet in the quiet, they thrived. Mornings. Alexander sketching album concepts while Ethan hummed scales over coffee, black and scalding. Afternoons. Collabs in the studio, Alexander's beats layering under Ethan's vocals like a safety net. Nights. Tangled limbs in a bed too small, Alexander's whispers tracing Ethan's spine, "You're my North Star," as city sirens wailed lullabies. Thanksgiving tested the glue. Marcus hosted. His diner shifts traded for a potluck spread. Turkey brined in memory, cornbread from estate scraps. No Harrington invite, but Alexander carved the bird with steady hands, toasting to chosen family with plastic cups of cider. Laughter flowed. Stories of Ethan's botched first audition, Alexander's prep school pranks, until a knock shattered the warmth. Evelyn stood on the stoop, fur coat incongruous against the chain-link fence, her face a porcelain mask. "May I come in?" No apology, just expectation. Marcus stiffened, but Ethan nodded, curiosity overriding caution. She entered, heels clicking judgment, eyes sweeping the space like a crime scene. Charming, she said, voice flat. Alexander rose, fists clenched. What do you want? Mother. Reconciliation. She produced a folder legal, crisp. The merger stabilized. Your indiscretion is old news. Return, and the estate welcomes you. With conditions. Ethan's stomach nodded. Conditions. A quiet divorce from scandal, therapy for Alexander's confusion, distance from entanglements. Evelyn's gaze slid to him, dismissive. You've served your purpose, Mr. Rivers. Now step aside. The room iced. Marcus's jaw set. Alexander's voice cracked like thin ice. He's not an entanglement. He's my life. Evelyn's laugh tinkled. Cold. Life? Darling, this is survival. Think of your legacy. Ethan stood, voice even. Legacy's what we build, not inherit. We're good. She left with a huff, door slamming echo. But the seed planted doubt. Alexander's late-night scrolls through family photos, sighs over frozen assets. What if she's right? He murmured one dawn. Ethan's head pillowed on his thigh. What if I dragged you down? Ethan sat up, fierce. You lifted me. Don't gaslight our happy. December rushed in, glittering and cruel. Ethan's single hit a viral TikTok. Gigs multiplying, holiday pops at Lincoln Center, a New Year's Eve slot at a Soho lounge. Alexander designed merch, tees with phoenix motifs, emerald accents winking defiance. They splurged on a tree, Charlie Brown sparse, adorned with subway tokens and demo CDs. New Year's Eve was magic. The lounge packed, Ethan owning the stage in a velvet jacket Alexander had sewn patches onto. This one's for the ones who stayed. Ethan dedicated, launching into Auld Lang Syne reimagined soulful. Alexander's eyes locked from the bar, tears unshed. Midnight confetti rained as they kissed amid cheers, the ball drop on screens a distant roar. But January's frost bit harder. A tabloid exposé, Harrington exiles gay affair, love or leverage, dropped, courtesy of Victoria's leaks. Protests erupted outside Ethan's next gig. Picketers with signs don't normalize perversion, slinging slurs that echoed Alexander's gala barb. Security hauled them off, but the damage stuck, bookings canceled, streams dipped. Alexander internalized it, withdrawing into freelance marathons, sketches turning abstract and jagged. I'm poison, he confessed during a blizzard that trapped them indoors, snow muffling the world. Ethan pulled him to the window, arms wrapped tight. We're antidote. Together. February's Valentine's was intimate. A picnic in the studio, blankets and battery candles. Alexander reciting E. Cummings, I carry your heart with me. Before they slow danced to Ethan's demo on loop. Laughter bubbled as they burned heart-shaped cookies. Flower fights dissolving into floor sex. Giggles turning gasps. Forever, Alexander panted, buried deep. Always, Ethan vowed, nails raking his back. Spring teased renewal. Cherry blossoms in Washington Square, where they picnicked with Marcus, debating Ethan's upcoming EP. Alexander's designs caught an agency's eye, indie film posters, paying enough for a deposit on a one-bedroom in Williamsburg. Our castle, he joked, keys jingling. But betrayal's echo resurfaced in April, Tax season's cruelty. Auditors descended. Evelyn's doing. Probing Alexander's gifts to Ethan as loans. Demanding repayment or liens on Marcus's diner job. Court dates loomed. Stress carving hollows in Alexander's cheeks. I won't let them touch you, he snarled in bed. Lovemaking turning punitive. Bites marking territory. Ethan soothed with songs. Lullabies against the storm. We'll sing our way through. May's heat wave amplified the simmer. Ethan's EP launch party. A rooftop bash in Bushwick. Fairy lights and street tacos. Promised escape. 50 friends. Musicians. Designers. Marcus toasting with pride. Alexander emceed. Voice booming. To Ethan, voice of the voiceless. The set soared. Echoes live. Crowd swaying. A new track. Jade. For Alexander. Lyrics of green-eyed storms and safe harbors. Encores bled into after-party. Bodies grinding to hip-hop. Ethan and Alexander stealing kisses in corners. Then, the crash. A drunk guest. Some society hanger-on. Cornering Alexander. Heard your mom's offering amnesty. Ditch the diversity hire. Reclaim your throne. Alexander shoved him. Glass shattering. Fuck off. The scuffle drew eyes. Ethan pulled him away, but the mood soured. Outside, under sodium lamps, Alexander broke. See, I'm the villain. Always. Ethan cupped his face, thumbs swiping tears. No. You're human. And mine. June's Pride Month was defiant. Rainbow flags from their fire escape, marching hand in hand down Fifth Avenue amid floats and cheers. Alexander, painted with glitter, shouted chants. Ethan dedicated a busk set to queer kings. Felt victorious, a middle finger to Evelyn's empire. Yet July's humidity bred cracks. Alexander's freelance dried amid recession whispers. Ethan's streams plateaued, label pressure mounting for commercial pivots. Arguments flared, over money, over Marcus's health scare, a mild heart episode, dismissed as stress. Alexander snapping, I can't fix everything. Ethan retorting, then stop trying alone. A week of cold shoulders followed, bridged by a desperate makeup. Alexander on his knees in the shower, water cascading, apologies murmured against Ethan's thighs. Don't leave me, he begged, taking Ethan deep, eyes locked in supplication. Never, Ethan gasped, fingers in wet hair, release a sacrament. August's dog days dragged them to the Hamptons, crashing a friend's beach house, salt air healing. Bonfires and bocce, Alexander sketching waves, Ethan harmonizing with gulls. This is enough, they agreed, toes in sand. September's back-to-school bustle brought focus. Ethan touring small clubs upstate, Alexander tagging along as roadie designer. Motel nights were poetry, cheap sheets, expensive touches, Alexander's tongue mapping constellations on Ethan's skin. October circled back, leaves aflame. The EP hit 100K streams. A festival slot beckoned in Austin. Evelyn's silence stretched. Capitulation or ploy. Marcus, recovered, advised, guard your hearts, boys. But live loud. One crisp eve. Atop the Williamsburg Bridge. City lights sprawling like promises. Alexander proposed again, not with ring, but vow. Marry me. Not for show. For us. Ethan's yes was a song, sealed with a kiss as winds howled approval. But November loomed, Thanksgiving's shadow long. An unmarked envelope arrived. Evelyn's seal. Inside a check 6 figures. For relocation. A note, Come home alone. Legacy awaits. Alexander burned it in the sink, flames dancing in his eyes. We're our own legacy. Ethan nodded, but fear whispered, how long could love outrun empire? November's bare branches clawed at the sky like accusations, the air in Brooklyn crisp with the promise of winter's siege. Ethan and Alexander's Williamsburg walk-up, freshly theirs, with exposed beams and a bay window framing the East River, felt like a fragile fortress against the encroaching cold. The check's ashes had scattered down the drain, but Evelyn's offer lingered, a ghost at the feast table. Marcus, over turkey and yams in their cramped dining nook, raised a glass with forced cheer. To burning bridges. May they light our way. Laughter rang hollow. Alexander's fork scraped porcelain too loud. Ethan squeezed his knee under the table, a silent steady. Post-meal, as Marcus napped on the couch to football's drone, they escaped to the roof, deck chairs pulled close, blankets shared against the bite. She won't stop, Alexander murmured, breath fogging. It's chess, and I'm always 3 moves behind. Ethan traced his jaw, stubble rough. Then we flipped the board. Your designs pitch that queer arts nonprofit. Turn her game into ours. Alexander's eyes sparked. The old fire. Yeah. Harrington Hearts, wait. No. Echo Forge. For voices like yours. They brainstormed till stars pricked the dome. Ideas spilling like champagne. Grants for LGBTQ+ creators. Galas with Ethan's performances. It was hope. Tangible. Their love's alchemy. December glittered with momentum. Ethan's Austin Festival slot yielded a manager. Slick-talking Lena from Nashville. Eyeing majors. Alexander incorporated Echo Forge on a shoestring, filing 501c3 amid freelance gigs for queer zines. Holiday lights festooned the walk-up, a menorah for Alexander's lapsed Judaism, a canara nodding to Marcus's roots, Ethan's Yule log candle flickering secular joy. Christmas Eve. They hosted Marcus, Lena, a handful of club rats. Mismatched ornaments dangled from a potted pine. Gifts wrapped in newsprint. Alexander's sketchbook for Ethan. A custom mic stand etched Sing True. The tree's glow masked worries. Ethan's label demanding radio-friendly tweaks. Alexander's bank balance dipping red. Midnight mass at St. Anne's incense and stained glass stirred Alexander. I want vows, he whispered in the pew, and in Ethan's. Legal. Binding. Ethan's throat tightened. Soon as we can. New Year's dawned with resolve. A courthouse elopement. Witnesses Marcus and Lena. Rings from a pawnshop, silver bands. Emeralds chips winking. I do, Alexander said. Voice breaking. Ethan's I Do a Vow song. Hummed low. Rings exchanged. They tumbled into a diner booth for pancakes. Married in Grease and Grace. January's resolutions held. Echo Forge's first event. A poetry slam in a Brooklyn warehouse. Ethan headlining. Donations trickled. Press nibbles. Xair's redemption. Gay philanthropy takes root. Evelyn's response? A cease and desist for the name Echo. Claiming trademark on Harrington Echoes from some dusty subsidiary. Petty warfare. Alexander laughed it off publicly, but nights brought tremors. Flashbacks to boardroom battles, fingers twitching for scotch. Ethan countered with rituals. Bubble baths. Alexander's head on his lap as Ethan sang folk tunes, fingers combing auburn hair. Lovemaking became liturgy, slow, sacred. Alexander riding Ethan with eyes locked. Gasps prayers. God, you feel like home. February's snowstorms isolated them. Cocoon. Ethan's EP remix dropped. Charting indie airplay, Alexander's posters graced out magazine spreads. Valentine's. A staycation in their bed. Rose petals from a bodega. Chocolate-dipped strawberries melting on skin. Alexander's tongue followed trails, teasing Ethan to the edge. Then over, their cries muffled in pillows. Husband. Alexander tested post-bliss, the word a talisman. Ethan grinned. Husband. March's thaw mirrored thawings. Lena booked Ethan a South by Southwest showcase. Echo Forge partnered with a trans youth center. First grant awarded. But Victoria's shadow slithered back. An anonymous donor to the org, lavish, laced with strings. Accept, and I'll expose your father's thefts. The real ones. Her email read, attaching blurred docs hinting at Marcus's schemes from estate tips. Rage boiled. Alexander confronted her at a gala she hosted, crashing in a borrowed tux. Ethan in tow. Blackmail? Again? He hissed in a powder room alcove, mirrors multiplying fury. Victoria smirked, lipstick aslash. You chose him. I choose payback. Ethan stepped forward, voice steel. Touch my dad, and your world's the one that crumbles. She laughed, but unease flickered. They left arm in arm. The wind Pyrrhic. April showers brought floods. Media frenzy over Echo Forge's launch gala. A rooftop redux of the Harrington harvest. But grassroots, with sliders from food trucks and performers from the margins. Ethan emceed. Voice booming dedications. Alexander unveiled the mission. Emerald tie a nod to roots. Donors flocked, queer icons. Straight allies shamed into generosity. Evelyn arrived uninvited. A specter in Chanel. Check in hand. 7 figures. No strings. Peace offering, she said stiffly, eyes on their rings. You're married. Alexander's jaw ticked. We are. Take it or leave. She took, but the gesture soured when audits revealed strings. Tax dodges for her. Branding for Echo as Harrington-backed. Betrayal redux. They donated it to a shelter, publicly, twisting the knife. May's warmth accelerated. Ethan's tour, Northeast Circuit, sold-out dives. Alexander road managed. Merch table his throne. Motel hops were foreplay. Quickies in van back seats. Encores in green rooms. One Ohio night, post set high. Alexander dropped true in a Waffle House booth, daring Ethan with a wink. Prove you're mine, he teased. Ethan obliged under tablecloth cover. Mouth a secret symphony. Alexander's stifled moans drowned in syrupy laughs. June's pride was triumphant. Echo Forge float in the parade. Ethan belting anthems from a flatbed. Alexander waving rainbow flags like surrender. Evelyn watched from afar. Expression unreadable. Grief? Regret? July's heat peaked with crisis. Marcus's heart flared again. Stents this time. Hospital vigils, beeping monitors. Bad coffee bound them tighter. Alexander held Ethan's hand through tears. Ethan sang to Marcus's bedside. Hallelujah a second time. Voice cracking. Recovery was slow, but funded by tour residuals. The family unit unbowed. August's lazy haze allowed healing. Beach days in Coney Island. Alexander slathering sunscreen on Ethan's back. Fingers lingering. Ink me, Ethan urged one sunset, handing a needle kit from his Phoenix days. Alexander's hand shook, but the line E plus A, intertwined vines, emerged on Ethan's forearm, permanent pact. September's harvest moon brought bounty. Ethan's debut album greenlit, Shades of Jade. Alexander designed the cover, emerald fractals over urban grit. Launch party in the walk-up, overflowing, joyous, Lena toasting to husbands who harmonize. But October's chill carried omens. Victoria's wedding anniversary gift, a dossier to Evelyn, fabricated texts implying Ethan blackmailed Alexander for gigs. Evelyn's call came at dawn. End this farce, or I dismantle Echo Forge brick by brick. Audits. Scandals, your husband's dream dies. Alexander answered. Beaker on. Ethan listening. Try it, mother. We've faced worse. The line went dead. Days blurred in paranoia. Encrypted emails. Lawyer consults. Ethan's promo tour loomed, West Coast swing, but fear shadowed joy. What if she wins? Alexander whispered in a LAX hotel, miles from home. Ethan pulled him atop, straddling, grinding slow. She already lost. We're free. November circled. Thanksgiving a quiet trio. Marcus stronger, toasting resilience. But post-feast, a courier delivered Evelyn's ultimatum. Final. Renounce the marriage, reclaim inheritance, or face ruin. For your father's sake, the note added, a low blow. Alexander crumpled it, but cracks spiderwebbed. Late nights, he paced. Ethan found him scrolling estate listings, eyes haunted. Just hypotheticals, he lied. The fight erupted December 1st. Tree half-trimmed, ornaments scattered. You're tempted, Ethan accused, voice raw. After everything? Alexander's roar. I'm human, fighting ghosts while you shine. It's exhausting. Words weaponized. Ethan's selfish, Alexander's ungrateful. A vase shattered, doors slammed. Marcus mediated next dawn. Weary wisdom. Storms pass if you anchor. Reconciliation was raw. Alexander on knees. Not in plea but parody. Hands framing Ethan's hips. Forgive me. Fight with me. Ethan's forgiveness came in thrusts. Bodies slamming truth. Love's not gentle, but enduring. January's New Year rang tentative bells. Album dropped to acclaim. Raw, romantic, revolutionary, Rolling Stone raved. Tour launched. Sold out coasts. Echo Forge pop-ups at stops. But Evelyn struck. IRS audits on the org. Frozen assets. Donors fled. Gigs canceled amid instability. February's frost deepened despair. Alexander's freelance vanished. Marcus's diner faltered. Whispers of separation swirled. Tabloids speculating Harrington split. Back to the closet? Valentine's was battlefield. Ethan canceling a show for a surprise dinner. Candlelit loft. His mother's recipe lasagna. Alexander arrived late. Eyes red-rimmed. Meeting with her, he admitted. One last try for peace. Ethan's heart fractured. Peace? Or surrender? The meal choked down in silence. Ending in bed. A frenzy of reclaiming. Alexander's mouth devouring as if starving. Ethan's cries a dirge. Dawn brought confession. Evelyn's offer sweetened. Full inheritance. Echo rebuilt under Harrington. Ethan honored with a foundation wing. I said no, Alexander vowed. But it hurts. Ethan held him, tears salting skin. Hurts more to lose you. March's madness peaked. Audit bombshells. Evelyn's plants. Exposed by a whistleblower staffer. Lawsuits flew. Press frenzy peaked. Echo Forge teetered. But allies rallied fundraisers. Petitions. Ethan's tour finale. Madison Square Garden opener. Voice thundering shades tracks. Alexander stage side. Pride warring with pallor. April's rains washed some wounds. Court victories. Assets thawed. But Alexander thinned. Ghosts gnawing. I'm tired, he admitted one stormy night, thunder rumbling. Of being the villain. Ethan's response. A road trip, spontaneous, south to New Orleans, jazz haunts and beignet. Bourbon street nights. Alexander loosening in crowds. Dancing drag bars. Ethan's hand his anchor. See? World's bigger than her. May's blooms coincided with breakthrough. Echo Forge's TEDx talk. Alexander's poise magnetic. Love isn't legacy. It's liberation. Views exploded. Funding surged. June's Pride Parade. Their float grander. Ethan and Alexander crowned queer power couple by crowds. Evelyn's limo idled curbside. She emerged, frail in the melee. I'm proud, she said, voice cracking, handing a letter apology, inked regret. You won. Tears fell, hugs awkward but real. No full thaw, but a door cracked. July's heat faded into August's ease. Album gold certified, echo expanding. September's equinox balanced scales. Victoria's empire cracked by her own scandals. Fade to irrelevance. October's foliage framed healing. Family dinner at the estate. Tentative. Evelyn's toast. To mending. Marcus's grin. About time. November's Thanksgiving. Full circle. Tables groaning under unity. As snow dusted the Hudson, Ethan and Alexander slipped to the veranda. Rings glinting. We made it, Alexander breathed. Ethan smiled. And we're just beginning. December's hush blanketed the Hudson Valley in a velvet quiet. The Harrington estate transformed, not conquered, but shared. The veranda, once witness to a shattering chandelier and a stolen kiss, now hosted quiet evenings. Ethan strumming guitar by the fire pit, Alexander sketching by lantern light, Marcus and Evelyn orbiting in uneasy alliance. The old woman's thaw was glacial, therapy mandated, perhaps, or genuine epiphany, but it held board seats for Alexander, with veto on legacy poisons, Echo Forge's wing in the estate library, a sanctuary for artists. Ethan's stardom simmered, not supernova. A steady rotation on The Tonight Show, collabs with indie darlings, his voice a staple in queer playlists. Alexander's designs graced album covers worldwide. Echo Forge chapters sprouting in LA, Chicago. Their Williamsburg walk-up remained sanctuary, weekend escapes from the valley's pull, but the estate felt less cage, more crossroads. Christmas was a tapestry. Marcus's jazz records spinning carols, Evelyn's crystal tinkling toasts, gifts layered in memory, a vintage mic for Ethan, etched voice of us, a leather portfolio for Alexander, builder of bridges. The tree towered, ornaments a mosaic, gala shards melted into stars, phoenix feathers from tour stops. New Year's Eve echoed the gala's genesis. A party, but there's Echo Forge Gala, rooftop overlooking Manhattan's pulse. Ethan headlined, Hallelujah, encore a full-circle gut punch, Alexander joining for harmony, voices entwining like fates. Confetti fell as midnight struck, guests cheering the kiss that sealed survival. January's resolutions rooted deep, couples counseling, not for fractures but fortification, learning love's languages amid empire's echoes. Alexander's vulnerability bloomed. I feared losing you to my mess. Ethan's, I feared you'd choose safety over soul. February's frost forged fiercer bonds. A second honeymoon, Bahamas, all-inclusive anonymity. Beaches bleached bone white, Alexander's body bronzed, Ethan's curls wild in trade winds. Villa nights, lazy mornings in hammocks, afternoons snorkeling reefs, evenings on silk sheets, Alexander's fingers painting Ethan's freckles, mouth following like scripture. Eternity looks good on you, Alexander murmured, entering slow, their rhythm a tide. March's madness mellowed into creation. Ethan's sophomore album, Forge and Flame, co-written with Alexander's lyrics, raw verses of betrayal's blaze, romance's rebuild. Studio sessions in the valley. Evelyn peeking in, tentative applause. Marcus taste testing inspiration snacks. April's showers nourished growth. Echo Forge's first fellowship. A trans composer from Detroit. Her piece premiered at the gala's sequel. Victoria's downfall, embezzlement charges, splashed across times was footnote, Karma's quiet nod. May's maypole dances heralded expansion. International tour for Ethan, Alexander co-producing. European legs, Paris cafes, Alexander's French kisses under Eiffel glow, Berlin clubs, leather and liberation. Motel mirrors fogged with passion. Alexander against glass. Ethan's thrusts a metronome to moans. June's solstice sun-crowned Pride Global. Tokyo float. Sydney harborside sets. Evelyn's card arrived mid-tour. Proud of your worlds colliding. Love. Mother. Progress. Pear-shaped. July's heat waves tested tempers. Tour burnout. Alexander's jet lag snapping at Ethan's spotlight glow. A Lisbon fight, over a flirty fan's number in Alexander's phone, erupted in their suite, accusations flying. Do you miss the ease? Ethan demanded. The adulation without me? Alexander's rebuttal. I miss us when you're the star and I'm the shadow. Storm raged, then subsided in tears. Makeup sex on balcony. City lights witnesses. Alexander's apologies gasped into Ethan's neck. You're my son. I orbit, not eclipse. August's dog days dawdled home. Valley reentry. Marcus's promotion to estate consultant. Recipes reimagined for fundraisers. Echo Forge's summer camp. Queer youth coding art apps. Ethan's workshops on vocal armor. September's harvest hummed harvest. Album drop. Critics crowing masterpiece of mended hearts. Chart peaks. Grammy whispers. Alexander's exhibit. Shades visuals. In MoMA. Evelyn's donation plaque gleaming. October's Amber Airs aired grievances. Family summit. Evelyn confessing complicity in the forgeries. Fear made me monstrous. Forgiveness flowed. Not free. Boundaries etched. Therapy collective. November's naked trees stripped illusions. Thanksgiving redux. Tables extended to Echo Fellows. Laughter layered. Post-feast walks. Ethan and Alexander arm in arm. Crunching leaves. Dreams dialogued. December looped. A year etched in triumph's temper. The estate's dining hall. Chandelier restored. Hosted solstice supper. String lights. Ethan's a cappella grace. As snow swirled, Alexander pulled Ethan to the veranda. Rings catching frostfire. Regrets? Alexander asked. Breath shared. Ethan's smile. Soft as dawn. None. You? Alexander's kiss answered. Deep. Devouring. Hands framing the face that had sung him free. Only that I waited so long. They made love there. Under stars coats shed. Bodies urgent against stone. Gasp steaming the night. Climax crested with cries. Love's litany, mine, forever. Dawn broke benevolent. The Hudson a silver ribbon. Marcus found them tangled in blankets, coffee steaming. Worlds waiting, boys. And it did, stages calling, canvases craving, empires evolving. Betrayal's blade had scarred, but not severed. Conflict's fire had forged, not felled. Their story, mockery to matrimony, silence to song, was no fairy tale, but human hymn, flawed, fierce, unyieldingly theirs. In the end, the rich kid hadn't just stunned the room. He'd rewritten the script, line by aching line, with the gay cook's son as co-author. And in America's sprawling saga of dreams deferred and reclaimed, their chapter endured, a testament that love, in all its dramatic, emotional, romantic fury, was the truest humanism of all.